Good day, everyone! Of all the festivals, parades, and events hosted across Eorzea, the Hatching Tide is not only the most recent to be created, but also what many would consider the most strange. Today, we'll be going into its creation, themes, and why people still celebrate it to this day. Gather around, my friends, as today we partake of an excellent holiday. We'll start at the easiest answer: when? The Hatching Tide is one of, if not the newest holiday to become normalized within Eorzea. It began right before the fall of Dalamud in the year 1572 of the Sixth Astral Era. But why? The end of an age and the war against Garlemald certainly doesn't seem like an ideal time to create a festival, now does it? But to the founder of this event, it's because the world was in danger that the Hatching Tide needed to be held. And one woman is credited with the founding and organizing of the Hatching Tide event. A keeper of the moon Makote named Gili Aliapo. But what inspired her to create the Hatching Tide during one of the worst events in recent history? Well, by her own admission, the idea behind the celebration came to her in a dream. Within this dream, she saw 12 people descending from the heavens, each riding atop a bright and decorative egg. According to Gili, these 12 men and women were none other than the original 12 Archons who saved many Eorzean lives during the Sixth Umbral Calamity, the Calamity of Water. You likely already know about some of these Archons, such as Nunkref, the founder of Old Charlian, and Realm, the master of Pictomancy. In Gili's own words, the 12 Archons descended upon the eggs and spoke thusly to her. "Rise, young dreamer, and make ready the vessel for our return." Thus, the 12 Archons had spoken, and were unanimous in their pledge to save Eorzea a second time from coming disaster. Gili would eventually awaken from this dream and remember it as vividly as she would any memory. Of course, such a peculiar dream would make most people skeptical of what they had witnessed in their sleep. But the dream felt so real, so tangible, that Gili couldn't help but share this potential prophecy with others. Normally, that would be that. A funny dream would be shared with others, everyone laughs at its absurdity, and then goes back to their day-to-day lives. But something odd began to resonate with some of the people she shared her vision with. While indeed many people scoffed at the idea of the Archons descending upon eggs to save the world, there were quite a few other people within Gridania saying that they had a similar dream. While none of them claimed to have had such a vivid experience as Gili, they felt it was odd that so many different people had a similar vague recollection all at the same time. After all, people riding upon eggs to deliver prophecy isn't exactly a standard dream. And yet, they all honestly believed that if so many people had such a similar experience, why not at least try? After all, the conflict with Garlemald was only getting worse, and many people were desperate for something, anything, to distract them from the coming threat. Even if the Archons didn't come, at least they could give hope to the people of Gridania. And of course, Gridania's leadership was ever welcome to the idea of a festival that might bring peace to their people. Thus, Gili and her allies would get to work immediately, calling themselves Dreamers to honor the title bestowed upon them by the Archons. They began to decorate eggs and spread vibrant colors all throughout Gridania, teaching the good word that these festivities were the vessel through which their saviors might emerge and deliver them from ruin. But unfortunately, we know all too well that the Archons did not return to Eorzea a second time. Dalamud fell, and in Bahamut's rampage, the Seventh Umbral Calamity had devastated the entire continent of Aldenard. And yet, even though the festival didn't create the prophecy that Gili and her dreamers were expecting, the people of Gridania were still extremely grateful to them for their labors, because the Hatching Tide had given them something they were beginning to lose: hope. Hope that someone or something was coming to save them from devastation. Hope that tomorrow can still be colorful and joyous even in the thralls of woe. The hatching tide might not have been this major event that brought back ancient heroes, but it did give the people hope. And as chance would have it, heroes were indeed walking among the dreamers during those dark days, partaking of and possibly even helping with the event. These warriors of light would indeed help in defeating the White Raven and dealing a massive blow to Garlean morale. And even though Bahamut had emerged from his own prison, like a bird breaking out of its egg, Louisoix conjured the mighty Phoenix to slay the rampaging dragon. So who's to say that the hope brought to Gridania through the hatching tide had absolutely no effect on the realm at all? Because if we're being completely honest with ourselves, there are multiple documented events of ether reacting to the will of those around it in very peculiar ways. Of course, that's for scholars and theorists to debate for decades to come, but the truth of the matter is that Gridania was so grateful to Gili and her dreamers for their hard work and inspirational holiday that they wondered if it might be hosted again next year. And ever since then, Gili has been visited by strange dreams at the dawn of every Hatching Tide festival, lending even more rumors to the odd magical nature of this holiday. Some believe that she indeed must be blessed by the spirits of the Archons. Others think that it's the 12, the gods of Eorzea, bestowing visions upon one of their prophets, while others insist that since it has roots in Gridania, it must be some of the elementals, communicating goodwill to those living within the Black Shroud. But whether or not these dreams are important, every Hatching Tide festival, Gili has dedicated everything to making sure that these visions come true. Not only for herself, but for the people of Gridania and all those who would join them in the idea of a more vibrant tomorrow. Because the Hatching Tide Festival offers something core to many living things. The Starlight celebration inspires generosity and childish wonder. The Moonfire Fair encourages relaxation and the adventurous spirit. And even the All Saints Wake promotes the casual use of fear in order to communicate understanding and even empathy. And much like the other holidays, the Hatching Tide now and always will represent hope. And that alone is worth celebrating. Because who knows what wonders might rest within such radiant eggs. While the Hatching Tide hasn't existed long enough to have a long and storied history behind it, it's no less considered important to Gridania. So much so that these small festivities have been handed off to other city-states like Limsa Lominsa and Ul'dah as well to inspire cheer and hope to their people too. So tell me, my friends, do you believe that Gili's dreams could be true prophecy? Or is it just the whimsical imagination of a girl whose cheer she gave to the people who needed it most? Let me know your thoughts, and I hope you enjoy the festivities before they disappear till next year. But as always, stay safe, my friends. Thank you all for watching to the end. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and share with your friends. But before I go, I'd like to acknowledge my biggest contributors. A grand thank you to Amina Viltaria, Naray, and Potato. Links to things like my channel Discord, social media, and connections to my channel artist Caddy can be found down in the description below. Thank you all once again for your viewership, and I hope you have a wonderful day.